Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Welcome back to the Federal Drive with Terry Gerton on Federal News Network. The Sammies have long recognized the most excellent achievements by federal government workers and teams. They'll be presented tonight by the Partnership for Public Service, but in a different environment from prior years. Here to share some highlights and concerns is the partnership's president and CEO, Max Steyer. Max, thanks so much for joining me.
Carrie, it is an honor to have yet another reason to engage with you, and exciting to see you in this new seat, and can't think of anyone better to be leading the charge on news about the federal government.
Well, thank you, and I'll turn the compliment right back at you because tonight is the Sammies, and I can't think of anybody better to come in and tell us about what they're all about, the Oscars of federal government service. You're the host and sponsor. What do you most look forward to on Sammy night?
So it is a day of absolute joy, and it's driven by the incredible stories that are right throughout the federal government. It's amazing how many different kinds of things federal workers are doing, all to the benefit of the American public, and very, very few of them understood by hardly anyone, including myself. So, every year I get an education about all the ways in which federal workers are solving big problems for the American people.
Well, I looked at some of the highlights for tonight, and I can't wait to hear about them in more detail. But what's different about this year's ceremony?
So, unfortunately, we're in a very different environment in which the current administration has, to be very direct about it, taken a hatchet to the federal government and to the federal workforce, really, in my observation, without either strategy or real good purpose. And so we believe it continues to be essential that we honor the extraordinary work that civil servants are doing. But I think we are now in a world in which the real risk is that we won't be able to do this going forward. And the kinds of really important things that federal employees do for Americans will disappear, and we will be a poor country for it. And that is the biggest difference here. So it has certainly, operational differences for us. We normally do this gala in the fall. We've accelerated it because we are concerned about whether we are going to be able to do it in the fall at all. We've consolidated what used to be two events where we honored a set of finalists in the spring and then winners in the fall. We are simply honoring everybody together at this event. And probably the most significant difference in terms of, what this says about our environment is that we don't have senior leaders from the administration honoring their own employees as we have for the last 23 years. So we have had to look elsewhere for, prior leaders to come back and do the right thing here, and other significant figures in our society. So it's a very different event, but to the same purpose. We believe that creating a recognition culture in our federal government is vital to ensure that we get more good things out of our government and the American people understand what they're getting.
That really is a big difference that senior leaders from the agencies aren't going to be present tonight. I've always perceived the Sammies to be a very apolitical celebration. What do you think is driving even that removal?
So, it is apolitical. It's the heart of the Sammies message, which is administrations come and go. Their primary responsibility, in my view, is being stewards of this vital resource, the professional expert career civil service. And unfortunately, we have leadership at the moment that doesn't appreciate or recognize how central those folks are to solving the problems of the day. And they're trying to change it. They're trying to actually make it a political system, one that is, focused on the priorities and the loyalty to the administration of the day rather than to the Constitution and the rule of law. And I'm stating this very bluntly because I think it needs to be stated in that way. There are going to undoubtedly be, some number of leaders in this administration that will still do the right thing, but the overall direction is bad. And it's important for the public to understand that and to speak up, because it's a real loss for all of us in dramatic ways. And as we talk about some of the specific stories, you see it. We will not have these people performing at these extraordinary levels in the future if we don't invest in and support the system of apolitical experts that we have right now.
I'm speaking with Max Stier. He's the founding president and CEO of the Partnership for Public Service. Well, Max, tell us a couple of stories about the awardees tonight that really just struck you as remarkable.
So, I mean, it's so hard to choose, because there's so many, and, we will be honoring 23 different individuals and teams, but, there's, Lydia Carpenter from the Department of Agriculture, who established a breakthrough program to help prevent, detect, and respond to African swine flu, which could devastate the pork industry. So there's something for every corner of our government. You have the, Lise Coronado, Matt Pierce, and the online passport renewal team at the Department of State. So anybody who has had to get a new passport can now do it in a digitally accessible fashion, which is obviously a huge change to, what we've had to deal with for forever and ever and ever. You have the team at, the National Nuclear Security Administration that led the development of El Capitan, the world's most powerful supercomputer, that's going to be able to conduct nuclear simulations with unprecedented speed and precision and really transform the stewardship of our nuclear stockpile. The list goes on and on and on. It is amazing. Every corner of our government is producing, some really important impact for the American public. And, very, very few people know it. And I think that's the purpose here, is to do two things: make sure that the public is introduced to some of these stories, and make sure the people who are actually doing it know about the fact that their good work is being recognized. What we've seen is that there's huge infrastructure to find problem in government, very little to find the good, and the answers to the problems are actually in the good. So we think we need to redress that imbalance.
Well, what's your hope as these stories are shared both amongst the current federal workforce and maybe even the future federal workforce?
So, I'm hoping that it both motivates the existing workforce and those that might think about public service to keep doing the work and to join the federal workforce or, some other level of government, especially today. We've seen this and don't have enough time to run through some of the stories, but by recognizing some of these stories, it gives them a validation that allows them to spread and their ideas to have even more impact than they do already. And it certainly motivates the people who are doing it, as well as those around them, to see that there's an upside for taking the risks and being innovative in the way that all these people are. I do think we will see another day in which the public will ultimately be more engaged and therefore demand that leadership treat the workforce differently from what we're seeing today. And we're going to need those people. Our world is more and more dangerous, faster moving, and therefore the kinds of things that public servants do for us become even more vital.
Along those lines, what are you hearing from current feds? I mean, the partnership is in the trenches with them right now. What are you hearing from them, and what programs do you have out there that are supporting them?
Appreciate that. And, it's a huge government. Unfortunately, I think the dominant voice that I'm hearing is one of fear, people concerned about losing their job, and not from the perspective of collapsing financial environment and necessary cuts, but sort of an arbitrary loss of faith that they're going to be employed to do the right thing. You have people who are distracted by calls on their time that are not mission related and don't seem sensible. You have a sense that people feel betrayed because they are working on behalf of the public and are not being treated as such. The word traumatized was used by a senior member of this administration, the intent to traumatize the federal workforce. And I think that has unfortunately been successful. There are certainly many feds that I know who continue to do extraordinary work and are able to push some of this stuff aside, but it is a terrible distraction and one that costs not just the federal workforce in profound ways, but the American people. So it's not a good message. And this is a price that is going to be hefty today and have consequence for our future.
Well, Max, I want to circle back after that to a little bit of celebration. It is Sammy Night. Congratulations on the program for the nominees. We're looking forward to celebrating them with you tonight. And thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. And you're right to end on celebration. We have a lot to celebrate tonight and going into the future because of these amazing public servants.
I've been speaking with Max Stier. He's the founding president and CEO of the Partnership for Public Service. We'll post this interview and a link to the Sammy Award winners at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.